The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
From the nation's capital, I'm Gian Jeffcoat, and this is the National News Desk, America's News Now. Thank you for joining us. For the next hour, we're going to take an in-depth look not just at the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk, but also the troubling rise in political violence in America, the future of politics in our nation, and the next generation of young voices that are guiding the conversation. The National News Desk brings you this special edition along with our team of anchors and reporters that have been digging into some of the most pressing issues and stories of our time. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a turning point in our nation's history. One of those moments where you remember where you were when you heard about it or saw it on your phone. The execution in front of thousands of students during a public discussion on a college campus sent shockwaves around the world.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
An American patriot, fearless in his faith.
Well, the first thing is winning souls for Jesus Christ. Most important thing.
Lord, use me as an instrument for your will.
The morality that built the West is the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is the best rules of life for any society to flourish and to be able to succeed.
A political powerhouse fueling the youth of America.
This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate.
And I'll never forget it, Charlie, that I would not be here were it not for you. He was a good guy.
What happened was a tragedy, and that I mourn for him and his family.
A young life viciously stolen in seconds while the world watched.
This is the police chief's nightmare. You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident.
All the young people across this nation, what does it mean to them now that their leader was killed?
The nation mourns, the nation is shaken by that, and we're working through that emotion.
Our nation now steadfast in hope that his pure message of faith.
Charlie Kirk just had a wonderful way of bringing the best out of conservatives.
Family.
Erica is, by God's grace, just strong as can be. She's a lioness.
Freedom and love of country.
Them taking him out only makes us stronger. So we're not going anywhere. We're all Charlie Kirks now.
Carries on.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country.
And instead of fear, the moment galvanized his movement of faith and liberty with his mission now part of a crusade for millions of his supporters. Faith leaders calling for a revival in the country as lawmakers begin increasing their own security. And just over the past year alone, both assassination culture and political violence in America has been on the rise. Most notably, in June, 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses were targeted, resulting in the death of Melissa Hortman and her husband. Back in April, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro was the target of an arson attack on his residence. When President Trump was on the campaign trail, 2 attempted assassinations, with one coming just inches away from taking his life. And United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson stalked and executed on a New York City sidewalk. The National News Desk has been investigating the rise in violence, interviewing some of the top political experts in the country on this exact inflection point in history.
We attribute mental health issues to many terrorists and many people who are assassins. The same thing was true of almost all presidential assassins, because we don't want to admit that maybe they had a political reason for doing it. If you believe that the government is doing something horrible, that the president is Hitler, the line between nonviolent protests to violent protests to picking up a gun or a bomb is one that's easily crossed for some people.
When you start to see the other side as the enemy, the opposition, calling them scum, it dehumanizes these people, which makes it easier to discount not only what they believe in, but their motives without ever needing to meet them. And that's a dangerous place to be, where you don't see the other side as legitimate opposition who deserve a seat at the table. In fact, your whole goal is to remove them from the table for you to get more of what you want. And that's not how a healthy democracy ever operates.
Millions around the world have paid tribute to Charlie. Thousands filled the streets of the UK, South Korea, and Australia, calling him one of the greatest symbols of courage under fire, vowing to honor his mission and movement with the same conviction. And here at home, the National News Desk's Mark Boyle gives us a rundown of the public ceremony being held this weekend to honor Charlie's life.
As the country mourns the death of Charlie Kirk, preparations are underway now for the memorial service, expected to draw crowds from across the country. In Glendale, Arizona, State Farm Stadium seats more than 60,000 people. Nearly all of those seats are likely to be filled. Here's what to plan for on Sunday. That service, titled Building a Legacy, does require a reservation to attend. Tickets are free, though. The doors open at 8 a.m. This is an early morning event. The program slated to start right around 11 o'clock. Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA has a massive following. We'll see a range of young people all the way to the President of the United States in Glendale this weekend. President Trump is planning on speaking Sunday, in addition to the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica. The public memorial for the 31-year-old who was assassinated in Utah is expected to be filled to capacity. We're told there's an overflow indoor area if necessary on Sunday. And of course, there are questions about security at large events anytime. Turning Point USA is telling those who are going to plan for TSA-styled security this weekend. I'm Mark Boyle reporting in Washington.
Part of Charlie Kirk's legacy lives on through the organization he founded. Turning Point USA now flooded with more than 62,000 requests for new chapters from high schools and colleges all across the country. His widow, Erica Kirk, will carry the torch as its new CEO and chair of the board. In a statement, Turning Point said, in part, all of us at Turning Point USA have a special role in carrying Charlie Kirk's mantle and completing his vision of bringing us all closer to our Lord and fostering a prosperous country for generations to come. As Charlie always said, we have a country to save. We will not surrender or kneel before evil. We will carry on. The attempt to destroy Charlie's work will become our chance to make it more powerful and enduring than ever before.
The movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it.
Erica has vowed to fight harder, grow faster, and in a mission statement, quote, unleash the true power of the grassroots machine Charlie created. He was undoubtedly one of the most influential figures of a generation. At just 31 years old, he had built one of the most powerful conservative youth organizations, a political juggernaut, and one of the fastest growing nonprofits in America. Growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, Charlie dropped out of community college in 2012 and founded Turning Point USA when he was just 18 years old. As an example of its meteoric rise, the organization raised more than $8 million between 2016 and 2017, with revenue now well over $100 million. He was the youngest speaker at the Republican National Convention in 2016, where he galvanized millions of followers online and around the world. His focus was always on the next generation, encouraging his critics to stop hiding behind digital technology, to challenge him in person on college campuses. That's why he set up a tent. It was the ultimate public town square for a generation that walks around with their heads buried in their phones. He said when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity. By 2020, he launched the daily podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, and appeared on countless shows and programs while still making hundreds of stops on college campuses. Turning Point USA said his show was downloaded up to 750,000 times a day in 2024. He became a political force for candidates, helping them secure victories, including President Trump's second term in office.
Joining us now is Alex Clark, a Turning Point contributor, host of the Culture Apothecary podcast, and a good friend of Charlie Kirk. First of all, Alex, thank you so much for joining us. We are so sorry for your loss and truly appreciate you taking a moment to reflect on a person I can only imagine you consider family. Was watching some of your interviews online, and you describe in one post in particular what you call the fun side of Charlie Kirk. So if we can take a moment and if you can reflect on what it was like working with him. What did that mean to you?
Well, first of all, people don't realize that Charlie was very, very funny. He had a very dry sense of humor, and I mean, very often he would have people absolutely doubling over with laughter. He loved hot sauce. He at one point had like partnered with somebody and created his own hot sauce, and it was like the only hot sauce that was allowed in the office. He was very particular about that. He loved Maine, the state of Maine. Him and his wife, Erica, and their kids, they really made a point to take a couple weeks each summer and spend time together, just really insulated as a family.
His conversation obviously was on college campuses, but on multiple platforms, social media. Where do you think he would want this conversation to go today?
I think he would just want us to keep having these conversations. I mean, the fact that we've got all of these, 54,000 kids that are trying to start chapters, he would be ecstatic. He would be on his hands and knees, crying out to God, thanking him for this opportunity that we're going to have here on, future generations of America.
Just horrific what happened and a reflection point for the nation. Alex Clark, thank you for joining us on the National News Desk.
Thank you.
Next, dissecting an alleged murder via text.
After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right? Robinson, I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet."
The exchange between the suspect and his roommate transgender boyfriend, police say may help point to a motive.
Sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate. Who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that. We're running them all down.
The popular messaging app now at the center of the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Every day we continue to learn more about the suspected assassin, Tyler Robinson. He's still not cooperating with police, but key messages sent to his roommate and transgender boyfriend are now pointing toward a possible motive. The National News Desk's Ryan Smith joins us now with more on the suspect who finally turned himself in with the help of his own parents.
22-year-old Tyler Robinson now facing multiple charges, including aggravated murder in the killing of Charlie Kirk, and prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. Not only was Robinson's DNA found on the trigger of a rifle used in the shooting, prosecutors uncovered incriminating text messages, a confession, they say, to his roommate, who is also his romantic partner. It all starts here. Robinson sends this text, quote, "Drop what you are doing, look under my keyboard." And in that thread, the two discuss the rifle and a possible motive. Robinson, quote, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out." Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I think." Then referencing the rifle, he states, "I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they are already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it."
After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police.
Robinson's parents later telling local police that after these first images of the suspect were released publicly, they agreed it looked like their son. They had a fear it could have been him. The judge ordering Robinson to stay in custody without bail.
And in addition to those text messages Ryan just mentioned, the Washington Post obtained the screenshots of the alleged confession on the Discord platform. FBI Director Kash Patel was asked about that while testifying on Capitol Hill. The National News Desk's Jeff Harris tells us more about that.
Appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee Tuesday morning, Patel confirmed Kirk's accused assassin, Tyler Robinson, appeared to confess in a Discord chat, which included over a dozen people. The FBI now working to question all of them. Patel telling lawmakers Tuesday morning there are more than 20 other users in the reported Discord chat involving Robinson.
We're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Patel confirming the report from the Washington Post that obtained screenshots of what appears to be Robinson confessing to assassinating Kirk in a Discord chat. The messages reading, quote, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. And it was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." The message reportedly being sent Thursday night, about 2 hours before officials said Robinson was in custody. Patel telling Fox News this week they've already contacted and connected with multiple people.
There are also lots of family members and friends that have already been spoken to.
Information systems expert Rajiv Garg tells us Discord is a messaging platform with over 200 million monthly users.
To have a voice or video calls with each other, share text messages, play games.
But unlike other messaging platforms, he says Discord allows users more control. Community moderators mostly control privacy and security settings, along with who's invited into communities called servers.
Each individual user has a lot of control compared to the platform itself.
Aside from Robinson, Discord has been at the center of controversy in the past. Thomas Matthew Crooks, the attempted assassin of President Trump, had an account on the Discord app. And Peyton Gendron, who carried out the 2022 mass shooting in Buffalo, also had a private server on Discord functioning as a diary. Now, Discord says it has not uncovered evidence that Robinson promoted violence on the platform. Its official policy also stating it does not allow hateful conduct or the use of hate speech. I'm Jeff Harris reporting from Washington.
Officials are pointing to social media algorithms as a major problem in American life. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, and I'll explain coming up.
This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. And we begin in South Carolina, where a school of cadets gathered together in prayer to honor the life and faith-filled legacy of Charlie Kirk.
Teary eyes in the crowd as cadets feel the weight of the news.
I was shocked. At first, I kind of didn't believe it. And then once I saw the headlines, it was shocking. I mean,
the military college's chapter of Turning Point USA and Republican Society worked together to organize the last-minute vigil, turning to faith in a difficult time.
Come before you today, Lord, as your humble servants.
I think it's important for us to come here and to cool off, to remember who our Lord is, and to look within inside ourselves to see what we individually can be doing better.
Putting politics aside and standing together.
We were all standing there as individuals, but yet as one body, as a body of believers, as a body of Americans, as a body that wishes for this country to be better in all forms.
But there is comfort in being here.
Inside Northgate Church in Sunbury, a gathering to honor conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
It's a terrible tragedy, what happened to him and his family just a couple of days ago.
His death causing shock and devastation among conservatives who saw him as an emerging leader and a man of faith.
Charlie Kirk just had a wonderful way of bringing the best out of conservatives.
Charlie Kirk definitely inspired a lot of people in my generation.
Now, as they reflect and remember,
maintain his legacy. Love one another as you want to live.
Many here promise that his voice will not be silenced as they hold on to faith and keep the legacy he was creating alive.
In this short video last Sunday, a man seen walking up to the graffiti bridge. You can hear the rattle of the spray paint can. Moments after he begins spraying, several in the crowd start yelling. The man can be heard yelling back. Can't touch me. It doesn't take long for the camera to shift to the ground and then stop.
They sprayed it in my mouth.
A second video shared by the victim with WEAR News shows him laying on the ground saying he had been pepper sprayed. Our crew Sunday captured people berating the man walking down the road before the situation calmed down. Officer Mike Wood says while some may not agree with what the victim did, there's nothing illegal about spray painting at Graffiti Bridge.
For somebody who is opposing to go up there and deface the mural during a vigil was probably not the smartest thing to do. And it upset people and it caused a disturbance.
But it's not illegal.
It's not illegal.
The city of Pensacola says steps are taken behind the scenes to monitor all events at the bridge and ensure safety. Officer Wood says officers do not take sides when it comes to what's painted at the bridge, but they do step in when safety's at risk.
We're going to make sure everybody's voice is heard, but you have to be peaceful. Once you begin throwing things or putting hands on people, then we have to step in.
To Texas now, where a Texas Tech and Texas University student have both been expelled for mocking the murder of Charlie Kirk. These are the images of a Texas State University student mocking the assassination of Charlie Kirk at a memorial event there. And officials on Tech's campus say a student was arrested on one count of simple assault after disrupting a vigil. Next, outrage over social media helping to fuel political violence. The officials pointing to dangerous algorithms plaguing Americans' lives. In the wake of the assassination of Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk, members of both parties are pointing to social media algorithms as a place dividing many Americans. Matt Galka reports.
In the hours after suspected Charlie Kirk shooter Tyler Robinson was taken into custody, Utah's governor didn't mince words when talking about the role he believes social media played.
Social media is a cancer on our society right now.
He doubled down over the weekend.
Cancer probably isn't a strong enough word. What we have done, especially to our kids, it took us a decade to realize how evil these algorithms are.
The president also believed the internet played a role in the suspected shooter's life.
It seems like his wonderful parents brought in a wonderful neighborhood, smart guy. It looks like he was radicalized over the internet, and it's radicalized on the left.
But social media algorithms don't follow a political ideology. The goal is just to keep people glued to screens and scrolling.
Do you believe that social media is one of the instruments radicalizing America and inciting violence?
Well, it's not. My belief is based on the data, and the data shows that social media is wildly out of control.
The internet is an accelerant. It is driving extremism in our country. It's driving us apart, left and right.
The social media algorithm is meant to keep the user hooked or engaged by usually feeding content that's either solidifying someone's beliefs or making them angry. Notre Dame computer science professor Tim Weniger says the outrage cycle is by design to make money.
Social media, they sell more ads and they make more money if people are engaged, and people are more engaged when they're angry.
Is it healthy to keep people this angry, and where does the government come in here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think so. I think that there's roles for the government to play, but I wouldn't call for restrictions in speech or censorship. I think that there's ways you can regulate the algorithm itself without regulating speech.
Utah has attempted to enact laws regulating social media with things like age verification and allowing parents to sue for potential harm to minors. They faced multiple legal challenges, claiming First Amendment violations. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
For those of you leaving us tonight, thank you so much for joining us. And if your programming continues where you are, still to come, a lasting legacy built by faith, honored by millions. From the nation's capital, this is a special edition of the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Jan Jeffcoat, and we do continue to honor the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk, whose biblical views shaped his political views that challenged cultural views. Instead of chaos to breed fear, his assassination fueled a revival of faith across America.
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith.
That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
If Charlie was told ahead of time, hey, you're going to be able to run this organization, you're going to grow it to these levels, and then you're going to be killed, but this is the impact that you will have, there's not a doubt in my mind that Charlie would have said, send me, Lord.
Charlie Kirk was known first and foremost for his faith in his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and he often spoke about the key values in his life: God, family, freedom, and country, in that order. And he reminded Americans that life's most important questions aren't about wealth or success, but about your faith and your relationship with God. We continue our team coverage tonight. Taylor Murray dives into Charlie's life as one of the most powerful figures in modern politics. Then Emma Withrow joins us from the Fact Check team with how his assassination is expected to lead to a surge in Christian evangelism. But first, we begin with one of the greatest evangelical leaders of our time.
The just shall live by faith. The just shall live by faith. Not by our own goodness, not by our own works, but by faith. By grace are ye saved, through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast.
The Reverend Billy Graham began a revival in America with a simple yet powerful message. The gospel and salvation in Jesus Christ changes everything. And that same spirit of revival carried into the life and mission of Charlie Kirk, who boldly and tirelessly defended biblical values and truth as he challenged a new generation to stand firm for Christ. Well, earlier this week, I did talk to Billy Graham's granddaughter, Rachel Ruth Lotz Wright, who got a chance to witness both her grandfather's and Charlie's passion to awaken the country with the gospel through conviction and courage. You know, we were texting about this because we both have teenage daughters. You have two in their 20s who saw this assassination online. And you have 3 Gen Zers, so you have this unique perspective seeing this through their eyes. How has this affected them?
It affected them and me huge. I think because it just came immediately onto our phones, and we first saw that he was shot, and we were calling each other and praying and crying, and then to get the news that he had passed was just devastating. And they were bawling, and I immediately knew that if this happened to him, it was not a surprise to the Lord, and the Lord allowed it to happen for a greater purpose. And so I kept texting them, girls, we've just got to see why. There's a greater purpose for this. We've got to see why, because Charlie was such an incredible spokesman for the Lord.
I imagine this might have been a little reminiscent, you know, to some of your grandfather's revivals, because you had a front row seat to that and these sold out stadiums. And then you witnessed Charlie Kirk raising up new voices on college campuses. How has that shaped your own understanding of how the gospel never changes, even in the face of evil? And do you see this revival similar to the one that your grandfather started with this generation?
I think it's the neat thing is that no matter if my grandfather passes away or Charlie Kirk is killed, the gospel does not die. And the gospel is that Jesus loves you. He loves you. And he left perfect heaven to come down to this earth to die on the cross because he was the perfect sacrifice. And it's the only way that we could have a right relationship with God.
And, you know, I love how your grandfather also said, come as you are. You come as you are. You don't have to get good to get God, and just the opposite, right? He also said death was not the end for those of us who believe in Jesus Christ. I love this quote. He said, someday you will read or hear that Billy Graham is dead. Don't you believe a word of it. I shall be more alive than I am now. I will just have changed my address. I will have gone into the presence of God. You know, when you think about Charlie's life and legacy, how does that truth that he's more alive now in heaven give you hope? And how do you plan to personally carry forward that legacy for both of them?
Oh, it brings tears to my eyes. It's just awesome because for somebody who has placed their faith in Jesus, the second they close their eyes, when Charlie Kirk was killed, he wasn't just like in the grave and disappearing. You know, he went straight in the presence of God. He was straight looking at Jesus face to face, and heaven is a perfect place. There's no pain, sickness, sorrow, mean people, angry people. There's no sin. It's a perfect, wonderful, real place. And when you place your faith in Jesus, that is a 100% guarantee that you will be in heaven when you die.
I love that. And I love when you talk about Daddy Bill, because you said he too had death threats. they would post them on his gate in North Carolina all the time.
Yes, I know. I remember as a little girl driving up because they had a gate, fence all the way around their property. And on the gate that we would have to go through, they had death threats just posted all over the place, and we had to be careful going up and down. But God protected. It didn't stop Daddy Bill. It didn't stop Charlie Kirk. And when
Never lived in fear.
what Jesus has done in your life, you can't help but tell people. It doesn't matter. You hear all these people in the Middle East and China, North Korea that are believers and speaking up, knowing that it may be a death sentence for them. But when you know the truth, you can't help but share it.
Rachel Ruth, just a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us here on the National News Desk.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk has served, in the words of his wife Erica, as a battle cry for conservatives and Christians nationwide. Now many online are speculating this tragic incident will cause a surge in Christian evangelism. Let's go to Emma Withrow from the Fact Check team, and I know that you've been digging into the numbers. As we have covered the numbers on Christianity, they've been on the decline.
Yeah.
Is that still the case? Where do the numbers stand today?
So for decades, we've seen the share of Christianity in the U.S. population shrinking, but a new Barna study that I found actually shows a big rebound in commitment to Jesus, specifically that. 66% of Americans now say they've made a personal commitment to Jesus Christ. That's up 12 points since 2021 when it hit a 30-year low. So the numbers are definitely on the rise.
And one notable thing about Charlie Kirk's platform is the youth, that he engaged youth.
Yeah.
Is that who is sparking this change, this resurgence, or is this across generations?
Yeah, surprisingly it is. I mean, young people, especially Gen Z and millennials, they're the ones that are leading the way according to all this data. Commitment among Gen Z men jumped 15 percentage points since 2019, and then millennials saw an almost 20-point spike. That's a huge reversal from past decades when faith commitment was pretty much the strongest among people who were, in the older generations, particularly boomers, people who were raised in the faith. And now it seems like a lot of kids growing up are shifting in that way.
And instead of silence, there's been an outpouring of that faith and just remarkable peace. From small town churches to packed stadiums and college campuses, there is grieving, but also voices lifted in prayer and scripture and song. Candles, open Bibles, clasped hands across denominations and generations. Many Americans are standing shoulder to shoulder, believing God is still working and opening the hearts of a new generation. The day of the assassination, President Trump ordered all flags be flown at half-staff, and on Capitol Hill, lawmakers passed a resolution making Charlie Kirk's birthday, October 14th, a national day of remembrance for his life and legacy. On Thursday, the Buffalo Bills became the 10th NFL team to conduct pregame tributes and held moments of silence. A video memorializing Kirk played on the Jumbotron at Highmark Stadium. The tribute started when the NFL coordinated one for Charlie during the Packers-Commanders game. Then multiple teams followed, including the Cowboys, Jets, Titans, Saints, Texans, and Dolphins. The NFL did make it clear the decision whether to honor Kirk would be left up to each of the teams hosting games. In New York, the Jets did play a video tribute on their Jumbotron, and in Green Bay, the PA announcer asking the crowd to join in a moment of silence.
The National Football League asks that you please join us in a moment of silent reflection following the murder of Charlie Kirk. The NFL condemns all violence in our communities. It will take all of us to stop hate.
As for the other teams, the Steelers previously telling Outkick their tribute would consist of lowering its stadium flags to half-staff. The Chiefs and Cardinals did hold a moment of silence, while the Bengals, Ravens, and Lions are among the teams that did not. Meanwhile, as tributes have poured in from across all spectrums of the country, several celebrities have been facing intense backlash online over their support for Charlie. The National News Desk's Kayla Gaskins reports from Washington.
Democratic lawmakers and fellow late-night hosts pouring out support for Jimmy Kimmel.
It is absolutely outrageous.
This is just despicable.
We are all Jimmy Kimmel.
Critics pointing out those outraged over Kimmel were quiet when previous voices were silenced or canceled over politics, like Donald Trump, Roseanne Barr, Dave Chappelle, Megyn Kelly, and J.K. Rowling. Meanwhile, celebrities expressing sympathy for Charlie Kirk's death facing backlash, including Jamie Lee Curtis.
I disagreed with him on almost every point I ever heard him say.
Yeah.
But I believe he was a man of faith.
Mm.
And I hope in that moment when he died that he felt connected to his faith.
It's no secret that I'm a Christian.
Broadway star Kristen Chenoweth made to answer for sharing an Instagram story expressing sadness and praying for the Kirk family.
What were you hoping to convey with that post?
I had a human moment of reflection just right then.
And Rainn Wilson, who starred in The Office, appalled at conversations he's hearing behind closed doors.
I spoke to a couple of, let's say, some liberal friends last night at an event, and they were like, you won't find me shedding any tears. And someone else was like, oh, well, there was a little bit of a kind of a good riddance thing. And it's like, guys, no.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I know.
We cannot think or talk that way.
Nah.
FCC Chairman Brendan Carr saying ABC's talk show, The View, might be next in the FCC's line of sight. The show's hosts have been highly critical of President Trump over the years. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Minutes after Charlie Kirk was killed in front of thousands of students at Utah Valley University, our team of reporters was on the scene capturing the rapidly developing investigation. Here's a look back at some of the pivotal moments of that day as it all went down.
I spoke with a professor and a student who both wanted to remain anonymous, but both told me they don't think this event had enough security.
I just arrived to the hospital, and this is still very fluid. We were just asked to leave the hospital property.
We're here on the UVU campus where just a few hours ago Charlie Kirk was shot, and we have learned that he has died. It happened just a little bit past these buildings here behind me.
What is going through your mind knowing your son was there?
I got that frantic call, and I could just hear the chaos in the background.
People were shoving, people were screaming, people were getting down. It was just chaos.
No, this is something that I've never experienced before, and I never want to experience ever again.
As investigators work those leads, we can also see they are still processing the crime scene. That is it in the distance. The pavilion which Kirk was under when he was shot. I'm at the suspect's apartment in St. George. You can see it's still an active crime scene.
I was on about the second or third row, standing on the corner of the edge.
Hallie Landinen returned to the site of the shooting. She still has the bruises on her leg from when she ran for her life.
There's no way they're going to give him bail.
Heather Page, bail bondswoman, suspects Robinson is in a solitary cell, and other inmates know he's here.
Oh, absolutely. Gossip goes crazy inside that jail, yeah.
A song, a memorial, writing on the floor, and even silence are the paths students are taking to mourn the tragedy.
Feels heavy. The energy feels heavy.
And you can continue following updates from KUTV and dozens of our other Sinclair stations nationwide on the nationaldesk.com. Charlie Kirk became a political force with millions of followers he tried to empower on college campuses, and his impact was undeniable for candidates in the GOP as they turned to him for support. The National News Desk's Taylor Murray reports on his widespread influence over the youngest generation of voters.
Charlie Kirk spent his entire adult life trying to rally young voters to the Republican Party.
He loved youth. I've never seen anybody relate to youth like Charlie, and they related to him, and they're devastated.
He prided himself on giving his critics the opportunity to debate him.
You guys know how it works. If you want to ask a question, we have a line forming here. If you disagree, you can go to the front of the line.
Liberal New York Times columnist Ezra Klein writing, quote, "You can dislike much of what Kirk believed, and the following statement is still true. Kirk was practicing politics in exactly the right way. He was showing up to campuses and talking with anyone who would talk to him."
Let me ask a question about Pete Hegseth. Would you rather have a warfighter or a bureaucrat run the United States military?
I would rather have somebody that doesn't have a history of alcoholism.
Some of his arguments were no doubt extremely polarizing during his life.
A man who calls himself trans is wearing woman face no different than I would wear blackface trying to be a black person.
I understand.
And after his death,
I'm not going to mince words. Like, I genuinely found some of Charlie Kirk's views to be vile and abhorrent. No one, like, that doesn't mean you murder someone. I mean, it's horrific.
Exactly. But the results of his efforts were undeniable. He and his Turning Point USA organization were credited with contributing to a historic shift among young voters to the Republican Party last year. Analysis of the 2024 election revealed that voters aged 18 to 29 shifted to Trump by 12 percentage points compared to 2020, a result that Kirk explained to Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom earlier this year.
We believe Democrats were taking them for granted. We saw some of the fault lines there. And to President Trump's credit, he also harmonized with the strategy by going on podcasting and using TikTok. But yeah, I mean, we did it in 4 years.
As for his ultimate legacy, President Trump believes the assassination will make Kirk's voice bigger and grander than ever before. I'm Taylor Murray reporting.
Joining us now is Alex Clark, a Turning Point contributor, host of the Culture Apothecary podcast, and a good friend of Charlie Kirk. As you were reflecting on where Turning Point was when Charlie Kirk started this, when he was, 18 years old, to what it is today. I know earlier this week, Turning Point posted on Instagram they had received 54,000 requests from high school and college students nationwide to start a chapter or get involved in one. And that was, I believe, in a 6-day time frame, and I can only imagine that the numbers are growing. These chapters, as you know, they give young people the chance to speak out about the politics of tomorrow, politicians that will obviously come from the next generation. What is the future, in your opinion? Could this be the beginning of a new generation of getting the young vote?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. So I think Charlie's life goal for amount of chapters that we would have, Turning Point USA across the country, was like maybe 20,000. The fact that we are at 54,000 plus and climbing, you can expect to see a Turning Point USA chapter in every single high school, every single college, every single homeschool co-op in America.
I want to play part of a debate that illustrates his interaction.
He's on a student visa now. His family was deported back to Mexico. How can someone like him get a green card and his family?
When was your family deported? Recently?
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years. Under Biden. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. My perspective might not win him over, I'll be perfectly honest. I think we actually need to limit the amount of green cards for the time being. And I think any country would make the same decision. Our obligation needs to be to American students first and foremost.
So can a woman have a prostate?
Can a woman have a prostate? Biologically speaking, a woman is an adult human female that has a biological reality, but it's also social experience, right? So I don't just...
Yeah, it's super easy. Like, can a woman have a prostate? Do you think women are happier than they were 40 years ago?
So I would argue that what you're calling unhappiness is actually visibility, because now we hear women expressing dissatisfaction, whereas in the 50s, we prescribed them Valium and we lobotomized.
The women with kids are not the ones tearing down statues, right? They're the ones that actually have obligations.
Does tearing down statues correspond to some kind of smiles per capita data set that I wasn't aware of?
Again, it's like, it's a little bit of a one-liner.
How about the successes of free market capitalism? The fact that we have abundance in light, air conditioning. The fact that we have more food that we throw away every single year than we actually eat. The fact that in the Western world...
You think that's a good thing? You think that our waste is a good thing, dude?
We have an abundance problem in the West.
I just want to thank both of you for having a constructive and lively debate. Give both of them a big round of applause.
God bless America.
Alex, what's your reaction watching that?
You know, Charlie was very firm. He was principled. He knew what he believed. He stood by those things, but he was also kind. And I think that's the biggest loss.
And Alex, at his funeral, thousands are expected, as you know, including high-profile leaders. If he could have written his own eulogy, what do you think that message to the congregation would be?
Oh, he said it so many times. It was God first, then family, and then your country, in that order. And his legacy proves he was able to do that. I think that if Charlie was told ahead of time, hey, you're going to be able to run this organization, you're going to grow it to these levels, and then you're going to be killed, but this is the impact that you will have, there's not a doubt in my mind that Charlie would have said, send me, Lord, I'm willing to do it.
Alex Clark, thank you for joining us on the National News Desk.
Thank you.
Some of those celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk online are finding the First Amendment protections have limits.
People don't understand that freedom of speech protects you from being arrested and put in jail for what you say, but it doesn't protect you from losing your job if you're irresponsible.
Phoenix Sports firing a Phoenix Suns beat writer for calling Kirk an evil man spewing hateful rhetoric. The Carolina Panthers firing a communications coordinator for an Instagram post with a Wu-Tang Clan song, Protect Your Neck. Kirk died from a shot to the neck. DC Comics canceled a new book series after the author wrote a post saying, "Hope the bullet's okay," after touching Charlie. Ole Miss and Middle Tennessee State University firing employees for sharing insensitive comments about Kirk. A high school teacher in Maryland under fire for writing, "Wrong guy, but we'll take what we can get, I guess."
Would you want a teacher who said this to be teaching your children?
No, I would not.
Ilhan Omar facing backlash for slamming those honoring Kirk's dedication to civil dialogue.
A complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up.
MSNBC firing an analyst for these comments in the moments after the shooting.
We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off.
Sports commentator Stephen A. Smith with strong words for those making insensitive comments online.
You're missing the point. This man was shot and killed from 200 yards away in front of his wife and children, simply debating his ideas against those who might differ from him. That's all. And I'm going online and I'm seeing people celebrating it. Shame. Shame on you.
Senator Bernie Sanders receiving bipartisan praise for his message about Kirk's death, saying a free and democratic society depends upon the basic premise that people can speak out, organize, and take part in public life without fear. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins, reporting for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
But I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I'm sorry.
7 counts were officially filed against the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, including aggravated murder. Tonight, we get a sense of the evidence prosecutors are poring over, including what authorities claim are text exchanges between Tyler Robinson and a roommate. Former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick joining us. A lot to unpack tonight, John. What about that alleged admission of guilt in a chat? Could that be an attempt for the suspect to utilize the admission as a plea to avoid the death penalty, which, as you know, is on the table?
Dee, I think it'll be uphill for his legal team to get the death penalty off the table. In those chats with his roommate and when he talked to his parents and when he wrote the note, there's no real remorse. There's no I'm sorry. There's no asking for forgiveness for assassinating Charlie Kirk. It's pretty clear he's just admitting to it. So I don't think that would garner much sympathy with the jury who's deciding whether he should get the death penalty or not. In fact, I think it may hurt his case and make it much more uphill for his legal team.
That's interesting. Utah's governor and the president had been calling for the death penalty even before a suspect was identified. You remember the intense manhunt. Robinson's arrest was facilitated by his father, seemingly with the knowledge, John, the death penalty would be on the table. What impact could that have on the case? Do you see a scenario where the mother and father could perhaps testify against their son?
Dee, I fully expect them to testify at the trial. I'm sure it'll be very emotional testimony. I'm sure they didn't want to be put in this difficult position, but nonetheless, they were by their son. And so he told them he did it. He basically admitted it to them. They know that that gun is a family gun, and they'll be able to identify on the video, yes, that's our son. Who's up there on the roof, jumping off the roof and coming into the building. So I'm sure they don't want to testify, but they'll be subpoenaed. They'll have to tell the truth. And I fully expect them to be very emotional, very impactful testimony at the trial.
I mentioned the president a few moments ago. What could federal charges achieve that state charges couldn't?
Well, the state is going for the death penalty, and I think they have a really strong chance of having that to be successful. I think the feds are scouring all the social media and interviewing a lot of witnesses who were in the defendant's orbit. They're looking to see, what did he target Charlie Kirk because of his religion? And that can be a federal crime if you target somebody for their religion. It can also be a federal crime if you target somebody for their First Amendment, for asserting their First Amendment rights and be strong on that right. So it can also be a targeting crime in that regard. And that crime for targeting somebody for the First Amendment carries the death penalty. I think they're also looking, like the Maggione case, did this defendant track and stalk Charlie Kirk, and that can be a federal crime as well. So I think they're combing all of his social media, interviewing many witnesses, but I fully expect the feds to bring charges against him. This is a very serious case that obviously impacted DOJ and the president in a big way, so I fully expect them to bring charges.
And it is to be seen if there are more suspects. The DA, I remember saying earlier that law enforcement is following up with any potential leads, so we'll see on that. Former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The chairman of the FCC now speaking out following a late-night lineup removal.
And with that license comes a unique obligation to operate in the public interest.
Coming up, his thoughts on the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel as reaction from both sides of the aisle pours in. Chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr, continues to defend ABC's decision to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely, days after the late-night host's false comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination. While critics have characterized ABC's decision as censorship, supporters say it was the right move and had to be done, as new reports suggest it was also a business decision. National News Desk's Jeff Harris reports.
Carr spoke out publicly several times Thursday, backing the decision to pull the show off the air, saying Kimmel's comments Monday night appeared to mislead the American public. But others are now slamming the move, claiming it's government censorship infringing on the First Amendment. Disney's ABC announcing Wednesday night Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely for these comments made by the late-night host this week.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
The decision coming just hours after FCC Chairman Brendan Carr threatened to take action against Disney and ABC for those comments.
Fox News doesn't have an FCC license, CNN doesn't, but ABC, CBS, NBC, those broadcast stations do. And with that license comes a unique obligation to operate in the public interest.
Carr telling CNBC Thursday Kimmel appeared to mislead the American public about the facts surrounding Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, while also hinting more moves could be coming.
We're in the midst of a very disruptive moment right now, and I just frankly expect that we're going to continue to see changes in the media ecosystem.
But Kimmel's suspension generating split reactions. President Trump applauding the move while in the United Kingdom Thursday.
Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago.
Meanwhile, multiple Democratic lawmakers claiming the move is government censorship of the media and a violation of free speech.
Anybody that's criticizing this administration, they're using the power of government to intimidate companies to fire people.
Former President Barack Obama also weighing in on X, writing, quote, "After years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like." Sinclair, which operates ABC stations in 27 U.S. markets, releasing this statement calling Kimmel's suspension not enough, while urging the FCC and ABC to take additional action. Now, Kimmel has not yet spoken out about the suspension. I'm Jeff Harris reporting from Washington.
We are gathered here tonight in a place that normally shines of joy and celebration. Every year, 500,000 Christmas lights illuminate these grounds in this very spot during our Festival of Lights, a tradition that fills this city with happiness, love, and community. Tonight, instead of festive lights, we can hold these lights.
Residents took out their phones and lit up the grounds at City Center Park in Orem for Charlie Kirk.
You just look around, it's America right here, and it's just great we can gather together and still love this country and have hope in the promise of a free America, a safe America.
Please bless us with dignified dialogue, listening ears, and a calm heart.
Curtis and Christine Winters were among the hundreds that came to show support.
I
I hope that all of us feeling like we need to have more of a voice in a kind way will turn the tide where we can begin to have conversations again. And hopefully this is a huge wake-up call that we all need to start talking again.
It's not just that he died, it's how he lived. It's what he did with his time. These lights remind us that darkness never has the last word.
This has been a special edition of the National News Desk. You can catch us on stations across the country, as well as our website, thenationaldesk.com, and our YouTube page, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and X. Before we let you go, we want to leave you now with a new moving video out of the White House honoring Charlie's legacy.
Rest in the arms of our Lord as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strives to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant.
Charlie, you put all this together, my man. Let's hear it.
I am just humbled by God's grace. That's all I can say. It's done. I want you to remember that we did not earn this. This is God's mercy on our country.